Johnjay, I get all of my TV advice from you, and I'm really enjoying this documentary kick that you're on. I watched the Lady Gaga one because of you, but I also saw on your Insta stories last night that you were watching a Chris Brown one on Netflix. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh my God, I was all excited right now to tell you guys about the new. I told you about the Lady Gaga documentary yesterday. I told you about the Demi Lovato documentary on YouTube, and now the Chris Brown one on Netflix dropped last night. And I watched it, and I was glued.
Oh, really?
Glued.
Well, that one seemed to be fascinating because when they were promoting it, I mean, he really opened up about like details in the big Rihanna fight and post Rihanna and all that stuff.
Glued. Yes, let me tell you. Let me give you a little setup here. So, first of all, do you have any idea how Chris Brown was discovered?
Nope.
No.
You know what's funny is when Chris Brown was 16 years old, he came in the studio with us. And remember, I didn't believe his last name was Brown.
Right.
And then his mom was here, and I was like, well, his mom's in the whole documentary the whole time. Chris Brown was discovered like this. He's from some tiny, tiny little town. I don't even know what state he was in, like West Virginia or Alabama or something like that. Tiny, tiny little town. His dad pumped gas at a gas station. And a talent guy, was coming through to get gas. And as he was getting gas, he was sitting there, the talent guy was like, is there any good talent around here? I'm looking for I'm just looking for talent. The guy goes, well, my son can sing and dance. And he goes, let me check him out. And Chris Brown at that time, you know how there's always that kid at school? At my school, it was Coco Woods. What up, Coco? And there was always he would break dance and dance in the assemblies and stuff. And that was Chris Brown.
Right.
And so this guy went to go see Chris Brown, immediately flew him to New York, met with L.A. Reid. And the next thing you know, he's in our studio. He met with Usher. He does Run It. And all of a sudden, his whole career skyrockets, right? So this documentary starts off telling you all about Chris Brown. And as they're doing this, as they're showing you bits and pieces of Chris Brown, they're jumping all over his life, front and forward and back. But when they cut to him now, he's painting. They don't show you what he's painting, but he's painting something. And they interview his basketball coach. They interview he goes, when he was in high school, he said, they actually interviewed his art teacher. They said, he's so talented. They go, he could paint, he could draw. And then they show him painting, and then they'd cut to him, and he'd be like, here's what happened in my life here. Then he gets into what happened with the Rihanna thing, right? He talks about how they dated for 8 months before anybody knew. And they show the point where they were singing on stage together at the VH1 Awards. And he said he loved her and they wanted to be boyfriend and girlfriend. And then they're at the Grammys, and they're in the Lambo. And he says, look, I want to come clean with you about everything. And he says, there's this girl that used to work for him, and he slept with her a long time ago, but there's nothing between us now. And so they're in the Lambo, and he gets a text message from that girl, right? And this is what started the whole fight. And he gets into detail about what happens. He gets the text message, and he goes, look, she texts, and it says, kill it tonight at the Grammys. And I'll see you at the Clive Owen party after. And Rihanna takes the phone and she goes, look, there's nothing on here. And she clicks on the message and reads that and starts freaking out and screaming at him and yelling at him. And he's like, there's nothing between her and me. I promise. There's nothing. Yeah, I slept with her a long time ago. There's nothing. And then here's what happened.
She starts going off. She throws the phone. I hate you, whatever. So then she hits me a couple more times. And I just kind of it doesn't go from translation to, let's sit down, I'm telling you the truth. It goes to, now I'm finna be mean and be evil. Arguing. So then I remember she tried to kick me. It's like just her just being upset. But then I really hit her. Like I with a closed fist, like I punched her. And it busted her lip. So from there, she just spit in my face, like spit the blood in my face, and I'm like, so it enraged me even more. Like it's a real on fight in a car. We driving in the street. A lot of the times, like, I look back at that picture and I'm just like, yo, bro, like, that's not me, bro. That's not me. Like, I hate it to this day. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna haunt me forever.
Like he said, he busted her lip, and then it just gets in this detail, and it's just so awful.
Doesn't it make you doesn't that give you like a knot in your stomach hearing that?
But he's like 18 years old, so now he's like 27 now or something like that, right? So they show him how he went to all the rehab and all the stuff that happened to him and all the stuff. I mean, I remember Kyle reporting every single thing in the GBG as you go through his life. And then how he was recording music and how during that fight, by the way, he goes, back then, he goes, I had all new music on CDs, and she's taking the CDs out and she's scratching them with the keys right? And he's like, that's his new music that he's got on track. And then she takes the keys, she throws them out the window in this neighborhood, this random neighborhood. And then they start fighting at each other out in the middle of the street. And there's this Lambo. And can you imagine, you open up the curtains? I think Rihanna and Chris Brown are fighting in our front yard.
So bizarre.
Right? And then she sits on the keys. And he's like, that's it, I'm out of here. And he like takes off. And then she starts yelling, he's trying to kill me, he's trying to kill me. And that's when the police came. And then they go to the mom and explain the mom point of view. And then the whole time, then they cut to him painting. You don't know what he's painting, right? And at the very end of the documentary, which, believe it or not, they turn it around to where you're like, you feel sorry for him. Because he explains how he grew up with his mom getting beat up every day by his stepdad. He was terrified of his stepdad. He gets into detail with that. But then at the very end, they show him with his daughter, right? Royalty, and he starts explaining that relationship. And they show a video of him and his daughter, and you just look, he seems like such a great dad, such a great guy. And at the very end, they pan back and they show you the painting that he was painting. And you're like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievably talented. I mean, he painted this amazing thing. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, because at the end, it's the big reveal of what he's painting, but he did it all himself. And you're like, this guy is just born obscenely talented, you know?
Remember he got in trouble in his neighborhood because he was doing graffiti on the walls, and he's like, I just like art, you know? And his neighbors were like PO'd because it was graffiti on his wall and stuff, but really it was art.
Well, it's on Netflix. It's called Chris Brown, Welcome to My Life.